He's gonna break the arm. And it's all over!
Considered one of the world's most electrifying and most ferocious fighters today, Nick has built a successful career working with several fighting organizations such as UFC, MMA, and Pride FC. He may have had a rocky career that saw him being out of the ring for 5 years, but his penalty has come to an end, and he's raring to prove that he can still bring in the crowd and the huge paychecks. In this video, we're going to talk about his net worth, his rich lifestyle, his career, and how he spends the millions of dollars he has in his bank account. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Before we talk about how he spends his money, let's first discuss how much he's worth nowadays. Based on publicly available resources, Nick Diaz is worth around $3 million. That's quite a lot of moolah for someone who hasn't quite turned 40 yet. He may be wealthy, but it still doesn't put him close to the richest fighters alive, such as Conor McGregor, who has a net worth of about $110 million. It's interesting to know that most of McGregor's money didn't come from MMA. The bulk of his fortune is said to have come from the $100 million he supposedly earned from his fight with now retired undefeated boxing champion Floyd Mayweather Jr. On the other hand, Diaz hasn't had the chance to participate in any cross-sport event, which brings in a lot of money. His single boxing match was against Alfonso Roca, someone who doesn't have the popularity nor the caliber of Mayweather. They were inside the ring in 2005 and Diaz won the fight by decision after 4 rounds. Nick's biggest payday was against Anderson Silva at UFC 183 in January 2015. Despite losing the fight, he made $400,000. To date, Nick Diaz has a record of 16 wins, 9 losses, and 2 no contests. How does Nick Diaz spend the money he has earned? Nick Diaz is pretty mum about his private life and doesn't share much about it on social media. Nick is apparently more inclined to splurge his money on his cycling habits instead of fancy and luxury cars. He doesn't post about his homes or any expensive collection, so we can't really be sure how much money he spends on such things. During an interview with MMA Fighting, he mentioned that he wouldn't even consider going out of retirement for anything less than $500,000 because he would rather work at Walmart than accept a pay cut. Some may think that Diaz's assessment of his skills at $500,000 is lofty, but that's not outside the realm of possibility. When he was asked what he would spend $500,000 on, he mentioned quite a few interesting things. One of the things he would like to buy is platinum nunchucks. He loves nunchucks and he would be more than willing to spend $500,000 for it. If there's one thing that Diaz likes more than good old-fashioned platinum nunchucks, it's Mary Jane. With $500,000, he could put on a music festival that would make Woodstock look like it's a festival for children. Lastly, one of the things that Diaz would not hesitate to spend money on is a new home for his mom. He wants to put all his mother's financial concerns to rest. That's one thoughtful son any mother would be proud to have. Diaz has long mentioned that he wanted to return to the UFC as a welterweight, but he has not taken part in any professional fight since 2015. He was handed a 5-year suspension in 2015 for testing positive for cannabis use, and he was also fined $165,000. In January 2016, the ban was reduced to 18 months and the fine was also lowered to $100,000. He's been eligible to compete from August 2016, but he has slowly lost interest and disappeared from the sport. After more than 6 years hiatus, he is set to return to the octagon at UFC 266 in September 2021 against Robbie Lawler. It's been more than 17 years since the first time they met. What makes Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler fight the right one? The two have a fun backstory. As mentioned, they met 17 years ago, and back then the UFC was a completely different place to be. Lawler knocked out Diaz in one of the most famous highlights in MMA history. He would eventually go on to have a seesaw career before finally capturing the gold upon his return in 2013 when he won against Johnny Hendricks. Fans are up for anything that brings Nick Diaz back to the octagon. Although he's been retired for almost 6 years, he's still one of the most popular MMA fighters of all time. He still draws attention and has a never-say-die attitude that fans love and want to cheer on. Fans can expect nothing less come fight night. They're going to get an electrifying and exciting bout which will be worth the 6 years they've waited to see Nick Diaz again in the ring. A victory from either man will solidify their legacy. In any fighting sport, what makes a fighter's career memorable is the legacy he or she leaves in the sport. Both Lawler and Diaz have fought a list of some of the famous fighters in MMA. Neither of them needs any introduction, and a victory during their bout in September 2021 would make their legendary careers more colorful. On fight night, everyone's 17-year wait will finally end. After his suspension, he began teaching martial arts in Lodi, California. He and his brother also own a CBD brand name, Game Up Nutrition, that sells a variety of CBD products, including hemp flower, CBD oils, and CBD pre-rolls. The two brothers remain activists for the use of cannabis, but Diaz has refused to disclose whether he uses THC products or how such products might interfere with his return to the UFC. He is also the official spokesperson of Lodi Vintners, a winery that's based out of California and has appeared in several billboards. In an interview with MMA journalist Ariel Helwani, Nate said that he didn't fight because he had other ventures, which explains his lack of activity in the octagon. Although he comes from an extremely humble background, he hasn't forgotten how he was brought up. The first thing he did upon being signed by UFC was to purchase a house for his mother and a car for himself. How did he become famous? Nick gained immediate attention after his first professional fight at just 18 years old. He participated in the IFC Warriors Challenge 15 and won against Mike Wick through a triangle choke. The following year, he entered his first professional fight when he faced Chris Lytle at the IFC Warriors Challenge 17. Became the welterweight champion, which was quite an accomplishment at such a young age. His early wins quickly got the attention of fight promoters, and much of his fame comes from his admirable fighting skills and ability to win championships. He has a big personality, which makes him sought after by the fans and isn't afraid to get the crowd on its feet. He also seems to get power from the enthusiasms in his surroundings. He might lose a fight, but he looks pleased to have given his very best. Nick Diaz was born to Melissa Diaz, but his father remains unknown to this day. It was his mother who brought him up. He was born Nicholas Robert Diaz, and he was born in Stockton, California. He has a famous brother who is also a UFC veteran, Nate, or Nathan Diaz. He started training in karate and aikido from a very young age. The Diaz brothers are one of the most popular siblings in the history of mixed martial arts. Just like Nick, Nate is also known for his tough attitude, and he famously beat Conor McGregor in 2016. As for his personal life, Nick is not married and has never been married, and he doesn't have any children. He says that the reason for this is that the life of a fighter could be troublesome and worrisome for a potential wife and children. But this doesn't mean that he hasn't had a string of girlfriends. In 2018, a woman accused him of slamming her to the ground and choking her during an argument. Diaz was charged by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department with 2 counts of domestic battery, including 1 count as a felony. According to reports, the victim was his on-again, off-again girlfriend. His friends were quick to come to his defense and said that the woman had been stalking the MMA fighter for at least 2 years. There were also claims that she stole from him, hid him, and committed other crimes that may have led to the confrontation in 2018. A grand jury decided not to indict Diaz because there was not enough evidence to label Diaz as the aggressor, and the prosecutor dropped all charges. Nick Diaz has had his share of controversies aside from the domestic violence case. He was set to take on Braulio Estima in a grappling match at the World Jiu-Jitsu Expo in May 2012. However, Diaz no-showed the event. Diaz alleged that Estima failed to make weight within the agreed-upon time frame before the fight. Another allegation is that the promoters of the fight failed to make good on their claims of donating proceeds from the right to charity. Nick Diaz appeared in the feature-length documentary Fight Life in 2013. It chronicles the lives of mixed martial artists outside the cage, won the Best Documentary Award at the United Film Festival. Stay tuned to our channel for more videos about famous personalities. If there are any celebrities you'd like us to do on a video, let us know in the comment section. Stay safe, and we'll see you around.